right. Good evening. I don't think anybody's joined just quite yet, but get the introductions out of the way. If this is your first time on one of these live broadcasts, usually go for about an hour. Don't have a specific topic picked out. It's just I let the chat kind of drive, kind of an ask me anything. So you ask questions, you chat, I respond to your chats. That's really pretty much how it goes. I do have some technical problems occasionally. Seems like every time. And if things freeze up and I get shut down, then I will restart. So don't go anywhere. We usually, like I said, go about an hour. Hey there, who was that? Maddox. Just to let you guys know too, I am having some problems. I can't get my computer to boot up for some reason, which is okay because I'm shooting live on the iPad here. But that just means that the chat just stays up for a second or two and then goes away. So I'm going to have a hard time responding to every single to Aviario. Good grief, I'm going to have a hard time reading this stuff if I can't get the chat up. I've got an idea. Let's try something here. Maybe I can... no, that probably won't work either. I was thinking maybe I could pull it up on the cell phone here so I can have the chat available. But I'm not sure I can do that and still talk. How Phil on a hay-only diet for rabbits, Caleb. Okay, so you're talking about just feeding them hay all the time, nothing but hay all the time. I think they probably need a little bit more than just hay all the time. It's good whenever, if you've got some kind of problem, like your rabbits have diarrhea, something like that, then yeah, switch to hay only for a little while until that clears up. But the rest of the time, you do need to give them just a little bit more variety than just hay all the time. Now, if it's a mixed hay, if it's got, mixed, multiple things in it, then that's perfectly fine. You can do that. Hey, Tom, I see you in there. So yeah, that would probably work out okay. But otherwise, yeah, I would give them a little bit more variety. I'm going to raise this chair up. I feel like I'm at the kids' table here or something. There we go. A little better. All right, so this is somebody, I can't read your name. Can you please do more quail educated videos? Yeah, I plan on doing some. If you have specific topics you'd like to see covered, leave me a comment down below one of my videos. In the chat's not the best place to do that because once the video's done, I don't really have access to the chat. Well, I do, but it's a little bit difficult. It's much easier if you come back after this video posts or any video and just leave a comment on there that says, I'd like to see this in a video, and I'll do my best to get that addressed. Last week's rabbit video came straight from a viewer that requested it. I know I've shot that video before. I've done topics on my waste management for my rabbits before, but hey, I just did it again because it was easier that way. So, all right, so variety like fruit and veggies, huh? Okay, so, well, you can do fruit and veggies, not a lot of fruit. Now remember, fruit's a treat. It shouldn't be a staple in their diet. It's a lot of sugar in fruit. And veggies, kind of the same way. Really what rabbits need is kind of a mix of things. I'm not going to be the best source for that right off the top of my head to be able to tell you exactly if you don't want to feed pellets, what to feed. There's a great book out there, Beyond the Pellet. It's a great book that will tell you how to feed rabbits naturally. It tells you everything you need to know about it. That's really your best bet if you want to feed rabbits without feeding pellets. If you want to do it naturally, buy a book like that and read through it because it's going to give you a whole lot more information and a lot more detail than I could in just a short YouTube video comment section or something. I don't feed my rabbits naturally. I feed them pellets and hay. So again, I know a little bit about feeding them naturally, but it's not my area of expertise. I don't want to steer you wrong. So hopefully that kind of helps out a little bit with that. I don't think the book's expensive. It's a great book. Again, Beyond the Pellet is what you're looking for. And I think it's Boyd Craven, I think is the one that wrote that book. And it's a great book. It's worth it. All right, I saw another couple of comments come up there. Again, guys, I'm having some computer problems, so I can't get logged into the chat. Let me try to restart this computer again, see if it'll boot up. I can't get logged into my computer where I usually pull the chat up, so the chat's kind of appearing and then disappearing really quick. It doesn't stay up very long on my iPad screen here. So if you've asked me a question or you made a comment, I didn't respond to it, please ask it again, and I'll do my best. I can only answer one at a time, and they're coming up so fast, it's hard for me to keep up with them. So I'm trying to get logged in over here. Hopefully this does not mean I have to buy a new computer. Hopefully it doesn't mean that. But for some reason, the thing was shut down, and it doesn't want to boot back up. Goes through its load screen, and then just stops. So we'll see. Third time's a charm, maybe. All right. Where were we? I'm kind of lost without Chad. Don't know what to talk about. So, well, I don't know what's going on in your guys' area of the world, but in my area, it is summertime, just starting to hit summertime. May 24th, we're 2 days from, if you guys know anything about Joplin, Missouri, you probably know about the Joplin, Missouri tornado. 7 years ago, the 22nd of May, so 2 days ago, 7 years ago, we had a huge tornado move through town. Great big tornado. And we are pretty much recovered from that now, but that does mean we are in the middle of storm season here. So far, been pretty quiet. We've had a couple of summertime pop-up storms. They just blow over, not very much at anything. A little bit of thunder, a little bit of lightning, but no high winds. Well, I mean high winds, 40-mile, 50-mile-an-hour winds, but that's pretty common in any storm we get. But they're just short-lived. They haven't been really bad at all. So praise God for taking care of us after those hard times. And really, since the tornadoes happened, hasn't been that bad. The storm seasons have been pretty mild. So I think God's given us a little bit of a break. And anyway, that was a long-winded explanation of what's going on here, but it is gardening season. If you guys have been watching videos, my videos on gardening, I got the cucumbers planted, I got the cantaloupe planted. I've still got a couple of things to go in the garden. I got, okra's in there. Most of that stuff's starting to come up. See, we got a comment here. Let me get these. Chris, I've got 4 California, 2 males, 2 females. They're all identical. How do you feel about tattoos? Okay, something about storms for rabbits too. Okay, tattoos. You're talking about tattooing your rabbits? No problem. I don't see any problem with that at all. If you have the equipment to do it, go ahead and do it. I don't really find the need because I keep mine in separate cages and I know which rabbit's which just based on which cage it's in. But if you want to tattoo your rabbits, go for it. I don't see any problem with that at all. You would do that right inside the ear and just like a letter number system of some kind that you set up. And you can buy the equipment fairly cheap and do that. It's a good way, and especially if you're doing pedigree rabbits, you need to do that. If you're doing pedigree rabbits, you plan on selling them as pedigree rabbits. You'll need to do that, and you'll need to track their pedigree over time in order to be able to demand the higher premium that pedigree rabbits take care of. So, hey, Hidden Bunnies, how are you tonight? Good to see you. So somebody asked about storms and rabbits. I think the question was, do storms affect the rabbits? My rabbits don't really seem to be bothered too much by storms. I usually pull the tarps down over the front whenever we get a bad storm coming, and they just, it doesn't bother them whatsoever. They just kind of hang out. They don't seem to bother. Neither do the quail. The quail doesn't seem to bother them either. They just, they keep on laying eggs just like normal. Now, I did have a storm one time that blew hard enough to blow one of my hutches sits on, kind of a big wooden crate looking thing, and it blew it off to the side of that. I mean, it didn't fall completely on the ground, but it shifted it and it was tilted a little bit, and that kind of disrupted them a little, but I imagine that would disrupt me too if my house got knocked on its side a little. But other than that, the storms don't seem to bother any of them. They're fine. My dog, he's not too bothered by storms. He won't go outside in the rain very well, but he's a little bit more sensitive to it than the other animals seem to be. All right, still no luck with getting the computer booted up, so I still don't have the chat. If you guys had a question or a comment that I didn't get answered, leave it again, and we will. I'll do my best. All right, I sell my rabbits with pedigree, but let the buyer tattoo the ear. Yeah, no problem with that. Go for it. Again, it's common practice if you're going to sell them as pedigree rabbits that that they are tattooed, just so you can track that back, kind of as an extra set of proof. You've got paperwork that shows their pedigree and they're tattooed, and it kind of matches up and it goes back to that. But if you're not going to tattoo, if your buyers don't care, it doesn't matter. All right, Chris, how can I identify a rooster that carries the Celadon gene for green eggs? Oh, I don't know that you can. I don't know that there's any way you can, honestly. The only way you can do that really is if you've got birds laying Celadon eggs and you isolate them. They're the only ones laying the eggs. Then you hatch those eggs out, isolate those chicks, pick out the ones that are laying Celadon eggs, move them in together, and over time you'll get that gene isolated. But if they're all mixed up, there's no way to really identify which rooster especially would carry it. All right, how amazing. Does no one notice this? Chris gets a live stream out every Thursday and no one appreciates this. I missed part of that. I think some people do appreciate this. More rabbit recipe videos would be cool. Okay, I'll do my best for that. And this is how many ducks? Is that the question? How many ducks do I have? That's the picture anyway. You guys can see me, I gotta lean in really close because the chat's really small on the screen. I don't have any ducks right now. I do plan on doing some more rabbit rabbit recipe videos. Penny says we appreciate you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys too. The fact that you come to the live broadcast is the only reason I do them. If I was sitting here talking to nobody, it would be boring as could be, and I wouldn't be willing to do it. But the fact that you guys join me every week is the only reason that I can do a live broadcast. So it's really, I appreciate you guys. Let's see, the next rabbit recipe video. I think I'm going to do some rabbit sausage, like breakfast sausage. I had to butcher my. Tom says I appreciate the video chat. You know, I like that part too. I had to butcher my aggressive doe, and she's pretty good size. I mean, she's full-grown adult rabbit, so not really the best for frying or any of those. Well, I don't really fry rabbits very often anyway. But the meat tends to get a little bit tough as the rabbits get older, so great for making sausage. All right, you should remake a how to incubate quail egg series. The prior ones had a few flaws in the videos where it froze. That's a good point. I do remember that, especially the one where it was incubating. For some reason, like I think the video froze, the voice got out of sync. It was perfect when I uploaded it. I don't know what happened. Over time, it got corrupt somehow. And I don't have the original video to re-upload, unfortunately. So yeah, I should do that. I keep looking over at the incubator because I've got eggs in the incubator right now, but it's too late to shoot that video. I am dry incubating this time. The humidity's been up in the 50 to 60% range, so I don't guess you could really say dry incubating. I'm just not adding water to the incubator until lockdown, which is Saturday. This coming Saturday is lockdown. So we'll see how that goes, and yeah, I'll try to get another how to incubate quail eggs, or how to incubate quail out. What kind do you have? What kind of what do I have? Of ducks. Oh, I don't have any ducks right now. I have quail, I have rabbits, and a dog. That's the only animals I have right now. Ducks are something that I've thought about. I just haven't got around to it yet. And this is Barrett's Rabbitry. Says, keep up the great videos. We really look forward to the live broadcasts. Take care. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to do my best to keep going. As long as I have topics to cover, you may see some repeats from time to time, but that's whenever I... well, as long as I have things to cover, I'll get videos out there. And Anthony has lockdown coming this Sunday. Nice. Great minds think alike, huh? All right. Hidden Bunny says, I'm getting some red-faced ducks. I'm not even sure what red-faced ducks are. Sounds like a duck that got caught doing something bad. But I don't know what a red-faced duck is, but cool. I'm glad you're getting some. I haven't even looked into it in detail to see what kind I would get. Penny says, we have quail eggs and Araucana eggs in the incubator right now. Missed the rest of that, but hopefully your hatch goes really well. And Muscovies is DT Quail and Rabbitry. I thought about getting Muscovies. Muscovies are interesting because they're not like any other duck. As far as I know, they're the only one that is... wait a minute here. Let me get this. You started incubating quail eggs from the supermarket, and 80% of the eggs... I don't know if 80% of the eggs hatched or were good or what, but I have heard people having success with incubating quail eggs from the supermarket. It's worked for some people, interesting enough. All right, so back to Muscovy ducks. As far as I know, 80% of the eggs are good. Good to know. Thanks for sharing that with us. Muscovies are a duck-goose hybrid. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I'll believe you, I guess, but I don't know that much about them. But I do. It seemed like I read somewhere that they were the only one that's native to... Maybe it's South America. Maybe they're native to South America, but they're a totally different kind of duck. They actually have like talons almost, not talons really, but they'll perch, whereas most ducks won't perch. But Muscovies will. They have different kind of feet. And Aviario gave me a $10 donation, a little donation for the new computer. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Excuse me. I don't know. Hopefully I don't have to get a new computer, but we'll see. This one does not want to boot up tonight for some reason. Never had problems with it. Of course, it's going on, I don't know, probably 9 or 10 years old. Oh, I forgot to look that up, I think. The Two Guys and a Cooler channel. I've got to look that up. I've got to make a note because I'll forget again. Let me write it down. I got a pencil. Anybody still use pencils? All right. Am I the only one that uses pencils? I love pencils. They're my favorite to write with. And I don't know, I'm not too much into art anymore, but I used to draw a lot. Love drawing with pencils. It was my favorite. All right, what else is going on? What do you guys got going on this week? We got a 3-day weekend coming up. At least I have a 3-day weekend coming up. You love pencils too? Did you just have a Windows update? I'm not sure, Douglas. Maybe. Probably. I don't usually turn my computer off. I'm bad about just leaving it on all the time. But I came in tonight and it was off. It restarted or something. And I can't get it to open back up. So who knows? We'll see. I don't have time to mess with it right now while I'm talking to you guys. I'm got to focus on the chat as much as I can. So I'll deal with it afterwards. Take the battery out, slap it back in. It wants to boot all the way up. It goes through the load screen and then it just freezes with a blank screen. It never comes up to where I actually can log in. So who knows? We'll see. Maybe it is time to get a new computer. But hopefully not. Have I had any problems with snakes getting into the quail cages? No, I have not had any problems with snakes getting into my quail cages. And how falls my rabbit need at the breeding time? Okay, I'll get to that in a second. No, I've not had any problems with snakes in my quail cages. In fact, I haven't had any predators get into my quail cages. Now, I live in cities, so I don't have a huge problem with predators, but we definitely have snakes. I have mostly garter snakes, which wouldn't be a threat to the quail. Chris, what should I do when my homestead feels gray, like sad? Oh, good question. Hang on, we'll get to that one too, hopefully. So we do have snakes, again. Mostly, and Douglas, it may be a fails Windows update. I'm sorry, guys. My ADD's kicking in. I'm having a hard time staying focused as the chats pop up. What was I saying? Snakes. Okay. We have garter snakes around here, pretty common. Those wouldn't be a threat to rabbits. Let's see, what else have I found in my backyard? King snakes, mostly prairie kings, which would definitely be a threat to the quail or baby rabbits anyway. They don't get big enough to eat a full-grown rabbit. Let's see, what else? Black snakes, black rats, those are pretty common around here. Those would definitely be a threat to the quail, the eggs and the birds themselves. But so far, I've never had a problem with them actually getting into the cage. But it's a hardware cloth. Snake's going to have a hard time. Anything worth, big enough to eat anything is going to have a hard time getting through the hardware cloth. Now, I have had other predators try to get in. What was I going to say? Oh, raccoons. I've caught raccoons and foxes both on my game cam. I put a game cam out there faced with the quail hutches, and I've caught them both on my game cams trying to get into the hutches, but neither one of them have ever figured out how. And I think it's probably because it sits so high. And I've got barrel locks on it. Now, I know a raccoon can work a barrel lock over time, but I think it's been difficult for them to get up to the point and grab a hold of it and have any time to kind of mess with it or anything like that. So anyway, no problems with predators myself. Okay, how many fall-offs? That was the next question. How many fall-offs do you need to get at breeding time? I usually go for 3 fall-offs. I try to get 3. If you only get 2, I would still count the rabbit as pregnant. If you only get 1, I would still consider the rabbit to be pregnant. But I try to go for 3 fall-offs, and then I consider it done, take the rabbit out, and put the nest box in 30 days later. So hopefully that answers that question. And then somebody else asked, let's see, what was it? How many rabbits do I suggest you get a year? I don't know if you mean how many babies, how many litters of rabbits you're expecting a year out of a rabbit. It depends on your breeding cycle. It depends on your breeding season. Here, I don't breed during the summer months, so I don't breed in June, July, August. I usually start back up in September. So out of 1 doe, let's see if I can count this up real quick. 1 doe, I'll have a litter. If I breed her in September, I'll have a litter in October. I won't breed her again until it'll be 6 weeks later, so it'll be like November, late November, probably December. And then I'll have a litter in January, so we're up to 2 litters. Then I don't breed her again until, let's see, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. It'd be like early February. Have a litter in March, and then I'll usually breed her again in late April, early May. So I'll get 4 to 5 litters, probably about 4 litters out of a rabbit every year. Try to shoot for about 8 to 10 babies. Let's say 8 babies. So that's 32? Is my math right? I don't know. 32 rabbits a year out of 1 doe. That's probably about what I would consider maybe the average. Hopefully that kind of answers that question for you. All right. Sneak a drink in here. Boy, this is tough without the computer coming up. Are you allowed to have goats in your area? Well, that's an interesting question. Technically, no, we're not really allowed to have goats, but I mean, you can. You have to have, I think the city ordinance says a half acre of land per goat. But the bottom line is they don't really enforce that. Nobody comes by and, get you for goats unless your goats are getting out and they're getting into the neighbor's property and the neighbors are calling and complaining. Then they'll come and they'll enforce that. My neighbor's got 3 little pygmy goats. I think you guys have probably seen them on videos. They're not very big, maybe 100 pounds. They're heavy goats, big around, but they're not very tall. And they stay in her backyard in a fenced-in yard. They're perfectly happy back there. She's got probably just a little bit over the size of a standard city lot. Depending on where you live, that could be a lot of difference. So probably a quarter acre, I would say, and probably not even that much. Maybe an eighth of an acre, because maybe it's probably a quarter acre lot, but these are in her backyard only. So probably an eighth of an acre. Have you had an experience with half and 1 PVC coated 16 gauge bottom? I use half. Okay, I missed some of that. No, I have not used the coated wire myself. I've heard good things about it. It's just expensive, so I haven't used it myself. I've never found a need to, especially with quail. The hardware cloth works out well for them. And I don't have any feet problems or any of those kinds of things, so it works out well for them. And the rabbits, I use a thicker 16 or 14 gauge wire, and that's worked out well for them. So I've never found a need to go with any of the coated wires. But I have heard good things about them. I've heard people talk well about them. It's just they are expensive. So if you were going to do it, I don't know if you were getting at this or not, but it kind of read this way to me, and it's a good idea. I would go just the bottom of the cage with that and do the rest with cheaper wire. I do the same thing with the rabbit cages. I try to do the bottom with the expensive wire that's bigger gauge, and then the rest of the sides it doesn't matter as much, and the top it doesn't matter as much. So anyway, back to goats. My neighbor's got 3 pygmy goats. About a year and a half ago, they were getting out of her fence. There was a section where goats are notorious. They're really good at climbing, and they'll find any way they can to get out of your fence. So she had a section that was near a tree, and they were climbing between the fence and the tree up, going over the fence, and they were eating the neighbor's roses. So, of course, the neighbor called the city and complained, and they came and made her get rid of them. And she didn't have them. I mean, she had them somewhere else, a friend's house or something for, I don't know, 6 or 7 months, and then she fixed that section when they could no longer get out. She brought them back, and it's been a year and a half probably since she brought them back, and she's had no problems with the city since then. They're not getting out, they're not bothering anybody, so nobody's called and complained, so the city's not bothered with it. So my city's pretty lax like that. I mean, the ordinances technically say you're supposed to have a half acre, and you have to have a permit to raise them and all that, but the ordinances also say you have to have a permit to have chickens. And lots of people have chickens with no permit, and she has chickens with no permit, and they didn't even make her get a permit when they came. They just said, well, you got to get rid of the goats, it's against the ordinance, but you can keep the chickens. That's all they did. They didn't care. I've got rabbits. Technically, I'm supposed to have a permit for the rabbits, and the city ordinance, the way it reads, is it says you're supposed to have, 30 square feet of cage space per rabbit. Ridiculous. Let's see, I have 3 Coturnix quail hens, but only 1 is laying. Is there anything I can do to get the other 2 to start laying? Okay, I don't know how old your Coturnix quail are, but if they don't have enough light, then that's the first thing. They need 14 hours a day of light. So if you're keeping them inside, or even if you're keeping them outside, we're just now at the point where it's getting to 14 hours a day of light. Okay. Oh, okay. What should you do when your homestead feels really sad and really gray? Hang on a minute, I'll get back to that. I'm sorry. Too many things going on. I'm trying to stay caught up. All right, so where was I getting quail to lay? Okay. Light, 14 hours a day of light. We're just getting to that point of the summer where the days are starting to get that length where they're 14 hours a day, so you may just have to wait, be patient. Usually a week or 2 after the first one starts laying, they'll start laying, and it'll just get more consistent as it goes. Light's the number one thing. If you've got them inside, add some kind of artificial light and get it up to 14 hours a day. Even if you've got them outside, you might add an artificial light that gives them just a couple of hours extra a day of light, and that will help get them laying. Also, if they're new, if you just got them and they moved recently, if you moved them cages or something like that, that tends to stress them out. They tend to stop laying for 2.5 weeks. So again, if that's the case, just be patient. They'll start up. Don't do too many things to them. Don't go moving them around. Don't change their cage up a whole lot or any of those kinds of things. Just leave them alone. They'll start laying again in a couple of weeks. All right. What to do when your homestead feels sad? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but maybe that is what you go out there, you just feel like things are down. You feel, that's probably I don't know how to say this, and I don't want it to come across as rude. Hopefully it doesn't, because I get in these situations too, and I don't mean it this way. But most of the time, it's you that's that way. It's not the homestead that's sad. It's not the yard. It's not the, it's you that feels down. And the best way to deal with that is really your attitude. And I know that's hard, but I honestly believe that is the one thing we control. Who was it? Chuck Swindoll. I don't know if you guys know who Chuck Swindoll is. Christian preacher, a great preacher, had all kinds of quotes, but one of my favorite ones, and I'm not going to get this exactly right, but he said, "The longer I live, the more I realize how much attitude plays on everything in life. It can make or break a company, a church, or a family." He said something along the lines of, "Every day when I get up, I have one choice, and that is, what is my attitude going to be?" And you do control your attitude. Things can happen to you, and it's up to you whether you dwell on the negatives and let that bring you down, or you dwell on what the positive is in that. I'll give you an example of that. And it's not like I'm some great example of this, but I do have a pretty good outlook. I do have a pretty good, your tomatoes are dying. Let's see if we can address that here in just a second. Let me talk about this for just 1 second here. Where was I going with this? Okay, I have a pretty good outlook, and again, I'm not trying to build myself up as like the guy, as far as positive outlook goes, but I'll just give you some examples. I tend to look at things from a very positive perspective. So I had my truck breakdown one day. This was a while back. I had my truck breakdown one day. I was coming back home, and it was on a Friday evening. I was coming home from work, and I blew the water pump. Blew the water pump in the truck. So I had to pull over to the side of the road, let it cool down, and then I had to limp it home. I had to let it cool down, drive a little ways, stop, shut it off, let it cool down, drive a little ways, stop, shut it off, let it cool down, because it blew out when the water pump blew, it blew out all the coolant, all the antifreeze. So now there's two ways I could have looked at that. I could have said, oh, look at this sucks, my water pump blew, that's going to be $80, because I could do the work myself, so it was an $80 repair. It's going to be $80 I don't have, but instead it happened on payday. And it happened on a Friday evening. I didn't have to work the next day, so I had the whole next day to work on it. So that's the way I choose to look at it as, you know what, this could have been so much worse. This could have happened on Monday, and I've got to work all week long, and I don't have time to work on my truck during the week, so I'm going to be without a vehicle all week long. It could have happened, the week before payday, whenever things were a little bit tighter on money, and I didn't have, $80 to go spend on a part. It could have been so much worse. But instead, it happened at a time where, it's not so bad. I got to spend $80. Yeah, it makes the bills a little bit tighter this week, but hey, it's the weekend. I've got time to work on it. I don't have to rush, and I can get it done without any kind of stress. And it could have been so much worse. So that's my another example. The week I was getting married. By the way, my anniversary is this weekend. 1 year anniversary already. Those of you guys who've been following my channel, I promised you when I got married that I would post some video with some pictures and things, and I haven't done that. Maybe I'll get that done here soon. But anyway, so about a year ago this week, the Monday before I got married, I got married on a Saturday, the 27th, and the Monday before I was on my way to work in Springfield, an hour and a half away, and I was halfway there, and I blew the engine bearing in my Durango. I had a 2003 Durango, 260,000 miles on it. So that means, it's not worth fixing. It's not worth putting money into to buy a new engine for that truck. It'd be worth more than what the truck is worth. So I ended up buying a new truck, and I got, not brand new, but a new truck to me, and got that the week I got married. Now, a lot of people said, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible timing. That's horrible." That's the pessimistic way to look at that. The positive way to look at that is, you know what? It could have happened a month before that, when I didn't have the money to make a car payment, and because I was getting married that weekend, my wife now was moving in with me, where we didn't live together before. We didn't live together before we're married. We're Christians, and because she was moving in with me, she didn't have to pay bills anymore. She didn't have to pay rent, so we could afford a new payment on a truck. So it really was perfect timing. God made that truck last long enough to get me to that point where I could actually afford to do that. It could have gone a week before, a month before, 2-3 months before, and it would have been a much different story, much, much harder for me to deal with. So anyway, that's my whole soapbox about positive attitudes. Hopefully that came across right and you got the message out of that. Okay, where were we going with this? There was something I was going to address. What was it? All right, what do we do with... I don't remember. I missed it. Yep, praise God, indeed, Hidden Bunnies. All right, I told you I would get to that here in a second. I can't remember what it was now. You asked me a question, and I lost it. So re-comment that, and I'll do my best to get that answered for you. Sorry, I got sidetracked there for a minute. Dying tomatoes. Okay, so what's going on with the tomatoes? What do you mean by they're dying? Are they drooping? Are they wilting? Or are they, do they have a... I mean, could be a lot of different things that could be going on with that. I need some information before I can help out with that. Have you considered filing male quail beaks if they're too aggressive? You know, I've heard of that before. I know lots of people that do that, and actually they don't usually file them. They kind of clip the ends of them off. And if you look, quail over time, their beaks will grow almost like your fingernails, where you've got the white of the fingernail that you can clip off and it doesn't hurt. They'll grow that kind of clear white thing, and you can snip that off with like a pair of fingernail clippers, basically, and kind of blunt it out a little bit. I don't find it necessary with mine, but it isn't a terrible idea. All right, let's see. If you have a tomato problem, use warm water to dissolve an aspirin and spray this on the plants. It will cure most problems. It's not a bad suggestion. That actually works for lots of things. But I don't know exactly what your problem is. I need some, like I said, some details before I can help out too much with that. Common things that happen with tomatoes. Blight is a common thing. Oh, your tomatoes have cracks. So you've got fruit on the vine already, and it's cracking. The tomatoes are cracking. Okay, that's generally. So hopefully that means that the tomatoes are cracking. The tomato fruit itself is cracking, and yeah, not right. Armed American's on the right track. It's too much water. It's not really too much water. It's too much water at one time with a dry spell in between. So what happens is whenever it dries out. It goes for a while with drying out, everything starts to shrink up and shrivel up a little bit, and then you water them real heavy, and it takes on all that water, and it wants to expand real quick, and it causes the skin to crack. So what I would suggest is a little bit more even watering. Try to, when I use a deep mulch method, like I've got this much mulch on my garden, I don't need to water very much at all. But if you are watering your tomatoes, try to water them like every other day. And it doesn't need to be huge amounts, but every other day, unless it's raining, unless you've got, you don't want them sitting in water all the time. You're going to have to kind of get a feel for how it is exactly. But watch your tomatoes. You'll get a feel for it. They'll start to droop just a little bit. So I know this is kind of a weird visual, but if you've got a pretty good idea of what they look like when they're well watered, the leaves are all standing out like this, nice and firm. And then they'll start to droop just a little bit like this. When they do that, that means they need some water. So if you keep an eye on that, you'll get a feel for it. You'll be able to address it before it starts happening. And I know that's not the clearest, easiest answer, but sometimes it just takes experience to be able to know when that is. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Where do you live, though, that you already have fruit on your vine? Because my tomatoes are this big, right now. They just went in the ground, like last weekend. We just got to a point where we could actually plant them. I got peppers in the ground, got tomatoes in the ground last weekend. I got, like I said, okra and cantaloupe and cucumbers and green beans, and all that stuff is just starting to sprout. I can see some green poking through, and getting excited now. But all right, where else? What else we got tonight? How long are we in here? 34 minutes so far. We're making it okay without having the computer up. Still never booted up. All right, you live in South Carolina. I'm already picking bell peppers, squash, starting to get nice-sized tomatoes. My eggplants are flowering. My cabbages are huge. My onions are huge. And your tomatoes are 2 feet tall already. Good grief. You guys have a long growing season there. I can't put tomatoes in the ground really before Mother's Day here. This year I probably could have, but you just never know. So I always wait till Mother's Day before I put them in. Yeah, mine are nowhere near that. Atlanta, Texas, huh? I don't think I've ever heard of Atlanta, Texas, but yeah, being in Texas, that makes sense. You've got a much longer growing season than we do down here. Like I said, it's Mother's Day before I put tomatoes or peppers or any of that kind of stuff in the ground. So I'm not trading. I like the Ozarks. I'm going to stay right here. I lived in Texas for about 8 years, and it wasn't bad. It was a nice area, but yeah, I'm an Ozarks boy. I like it. Oh, Panama. That's why. I've been actually thinking about visiting Panama. I've never been there, and I've heard it's a nice place to visit. A great vacation spot. You can get away fairly cost effective down there. So who knows? My wife and I are talking about maybe taking a trip down to Panama at some point, just taking a vacation. I need you guys to help me out, actually. We've been talking about where to go on vacation. So give me some ideas on what's a good vacation spot. It doesn't have to be anywhere crazy, exotic, or anything like that. There's a lot of the U.S. I haven't seen, too. But we've thought about, like, I haven't seen the Grand Canyon, and thought about going to check it out. Yep, Panama is one of those. But my worry is that I'll get to the Grand Canyon, I'll be like, oh, there's the Grand Canyon. Okay, that's it. And then doing nothing. Well, Armed American says, I plant my garden a week before Easter, quail and chicken compost, tilled it twice. Oh, nice. Costa Rica is beautiful, Cancun, and Illinois is, I don't know what that said. Illinois, it looked like it said Illinois is lame, but I'm sure that's not, maybe that's not what you said. I got MyShire farm quail eggs and got 90% hatch rate, great service, and good pricing. I've heard good things about MyShire farms as well. I know they're pretty well known. You did say Illinois is lame? Well, there's parts of, I guess anywhere is lame. And if you live there, you might think it's lame all the time, but other people might not. Although Illinois is probably not one of the places I would go on vacation. LOL, have you seen I Shouldn't Be Alive? People die in there. People die in where? In Illinois? I don't know. Do you like Rex rabbits? Yeah, I like Rex rabbits. And, Rex rabbit's a good dual-purpose rabbit. If you want one that can produce both a nice fur, they've got great fur, and be a decent meat rabbit. They're not the absolute best meat rabbit you can get, but they're perfectly fine for a meat rabbit. Oh, they die in the Grand Canyon. Okay, that makes more sense. How old do chickens have to be to tell what sex they are? It depends on what kind of chickens they are, honestly. Hi, Chris. I made it. I butchered my first male quails. Fantastic. Congratulations on that. Oh, no, your Great Pyrenees ate most of your livestock guardian dog ate your livestock. That's ironic. I'm sorry to hear that. All right, as far as chickens, how old they have to be? It depends on what kind of chickens. If they're sex-linked chickens, you can tell pretty young. If they're some breeds of chickens, you're going to have to wait till they get full grown before you even know what kind they are. I mean, it's just hard to tell. Yeah, they're like a wild pack of wolves running around here, huh? My neighbor's got a Great Pyrenees, and my dog just loves it. I mean, they're right, the fence butts up against each other. My dog and her dog, they come together and they just run the fence line together and, kind of bite at each other through the fence. They have a great time. Yep, Silver Dollar City is a great place for Christian family getaway. Well, living in Southwest Missouri, I've been to Silver Dollar City 100 times. I grew up, not too far from it, so that's the go-to place for vacations for sure. We plan on probably taking my stepson there this year. We took him there last year. We'll probably do it again this summer, but that's not really vacation for us. And it's Spanish with Chris, huh? Congrats on the anniversary, too. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You have 15 Great Pyrenees puppies for sale right now if anybody's interested. There's a good livestock guardian dogs for sale. Memes, yeah. Spanish. I have been studying Spanish. I'm not progressing. Well, I'm not terrible. I'm making progress, but my vocabulary is pretty thin right now. I'm not doing that great with it. I'm picking it up, but it's slow going. Is it normal for rabbits to cannibalize its kids even if it's the second time giving birth? No, that's not normal, but it's not that abnormal either. It does happen from time to time. Is there a breed of quail that can hatch their own eggs? Okay, let me get to that here in a second. It does happen from time to time. A rabbit will eat her own babies. That's a really bad mothering trait, especially if it's happened in her second litter. I would give her till, at least 3 tries and see if she would, see if it's a continued problem or not. If she does it a third time, then for sure I would get rid of her, replace her with another rabbit. Again, it's not that uncommon, but it's not something that's common that you want to be going on. If she did it the first litter, did it the second litter, I'd give her one more time, and that's it. And hopefully it doesn't happen again. All right, so the other comment, what were we talking about? Oh, certain breed of quail that can hatch their own eggs. Yeah, any kind of quail can hatch their own eggs. It does happen from time to time where a Coturnix quail will go broody, but it's very, very uncommon. There are some things that you can do if you If you keep them on the ground, I think they're a little bit more apt to become broody. If you give them hiding spaces, they're a little bit more apt to become broody and to hatch their own eggs out. I've never heard of anybody having great success hatching with a bird hatching out their own eggs. I know it happens. They'll hatch them out. They'll hatch out some of them, but usually it's not real high hatch rates. If it's not Dukes, it's not Mayo. Okay. I'm not sure where that came from. Caught me off guard. What was I saying? About, Bob Whites will probably hatch their own eggs out. I don't know if they'll do that in captivity or not. I don't know. It's something you just have to try. How do you catch a unique rabbit? Unique up on it? Trying out automatic water. Do bowls normally stay dry or they pick out? Okay, you're talking about the quail with the water cups where they the little yellow knob in there, they peck out to get the water out. It won't keep water in it. It's going to be dry. Don't stress about that. Chris, what should I do when my tame rabbit bites me and I start bleeding? Well, I think the first thing I would do is wash your hands real good, clean out the wound, bandage it up. Second thing I would do, if it happens once, shame on the rabbit. If it happens more than once, that rabbit becomes dinner. Sometimes there's something going on. Make sure he's not got like sore hocks or something like that that's causing him to be grumpy. But if it's a continued aggressive behavior with no apparent reason for it, send him to the freezer. Life's too short for that stuff. All right. Where was I? Oh, I lost track again. I got stuck. Okay. Yep. Roasted rabbit and potatoes, or make sausage like I'm going to make out of this rabbit. My doe, she oh my gosh, she got so aggressive. I couldn't even get her out of the cage to dispatch her. It was, she was jumping and attacking everything that came in there. Does a quail need to be fertile to lay eggs or like chickens? No, they lay all the time, whether there's a rooster or not. Hey, Chris, hope all is well. You and your family. I just got my second. The comment went away. I can't read the rest of it. I'm sorry. All right, so back to talking about quail hatching their own eggs. One thing that just kind of popped into my mind that you can do, I've heard people having really good success with taking quail eggs and putting them under a broody Banty hen, the small hens, and they'll hatch them out for you. One of my California does bites just after it has a litter, calms down later, and becomes gentle. Well, that's not a bad thing. Just know right after she has a litter, don't mess with her, right? I let my eggs hatch 5 days past actual 18 mark. Okay, if you, oh my gosh, chat's coming so fast. Sorry if I'm missing it all, guys. Okay, so 5 days past day 18 is when they started hatching. That's a sign that your incubator temperature is probably a little bit on the low side. It may only be ½ degree low, but it's causing it to hatch late. So get I'm sorry, I can't see the previous chat. My computer's not logging in, so all I have is the iPad that I'm shooting this on. The chat pops up, and it stays there for a second, and then it just disappears. I'm sorry about the video lagging, guys. I'd fix it if I could. And it probably doesn't help that I'm jumping from topic to topic. You don't know if I'm... No, it's okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I can't read the previous chat. It's not your fault. It's my fault. Technology is not my friend tonight. So... Yep. Check the... Oh, yeah. Good idea. Yeah. Distract your rabbit if they're aggressive with something else. And... you know what I would do if I had $1 million? I don't know. So that's a good suggestion with distracting the rabbit with something else. Maybe I can see it later and get back to me. I'll do my best to do that. I don't usually get to see the chat much after the live broadcast has ended. So what you may want to do is come back in, just copy and paste it if you can. Copy it, paste it as a comment on the video itself after the video posts, and it stays there. And then I'm much more likely to be able to see it and go back and address it. Sorry, guys, that I can't keep up with this live chat tonight. Can't get the computer to boot up. It's not looking good. We'll see. Yeah, well, maybe I should use a PC, but my PC is the one that's broken down right now. Okay, you have a joke. Let's hear it. Hatch 35 eggs out of 43. That's a pretty good hatch rate. Congratulations. All right, I'll be hatching eggs soon, but I'm confused on the 14th day lockdown. Do you count the day 14 or the day after? Count the day 14. I've seen Office Space. It is pretty funny. So hopefully that answers that question about lockdown. Day 14. So I put my eggs in last Saturday. That's day 1. This Saturday, not last Saturday, 2 weeks ago. This Saturday will be day 14. You got 41 in the incubator now. Nice. So good luck with your upcoming hatch. Out of 5 hens. Yeah, they produce like crazy, don't they? All right, here's Hidden Bunny's jokes. What did the potato say to the mother potato when she did something nice? I don't know. Where's the punchline? You're a sweet potato. Ha ha. That's corny. I like it. Thanks for sharing. Oh, I've got a pretty good joke. You guys want to hear a good joke? Have you thought of an ocean liner cruise for vacation? I have thought about that. I've done a cruise before. It's great. It's very economical. We may do that. 40 quail eggs in the incubator, 5 days left till they hatch. Well, I hope. Yep, I hope so too. Good luck with it. Okay, you guys want to hear my joke? We got about 15 minutes left. So, all right, I'm going to tell my joke. I'm going to be not paying attention to the chat for just a minute. So if you're chatting, I'm probably going to miss it and you're going to have to chat back. But here's the joke. Okay, so I got to think about this first and get it straight. Okay. All right, so, this, let's see, a Mexican guy, he walks into a bar, and he's all bent over, and he's got a bad back, and he hobbles up to the bar stool, he sits down, he orders a shot of tequila. Then next comes in a French guy, and he's got a bad leg, and he hobbles up to the bar, he sits down, he orders a glass of wine. The next guy that comes in is a redneck, same thing, he hobbles up to the bar, he sits down, he orders a beer. Well, pretty soon Jesus comes walking into the bar, and he walks up to the bar, and the Mexican guy looks up and sees him, and he says, "Is that Jesus down there?" And the bartender says, "Yeah, that's Jesus." And he says, "Okay, well, send him a shot of tequila from me." So the bartender sends a shot of tequila down there. Then he goes, the French guy says, "Hey, excuse me, bartender, is that Jesus down there?" The bartender says, "Yeah, that's Jesus." He says, "Well, send him a glass of wine from me." I can't do accents, so we're not even going to try to fake their accents. So he sends a glass of wine down to Jesus from the French guy. And then the redneck looks up and he sees Jesus and he calls the bartender over. He says, "Excuse me, bartender, is that God's boy down there?" And the bartender says, "Yeah, that's Jesus." He says, "Well, send him a beer from me." So he sends a beer down there. Well, Jesus gets up. He walks up to these 3 guys. He looks at the Mexican guy. He says, "For your kindness, my son, you are healed." He puts his hand on his shoulder. The guy's back straightens right up. He's healed. He's so happy. He goes dancing down the road, shouting praise to God. He goes to the French guy. He puts his hand on his shoulder. He says, For your kindness, my son, you are healed." The guy's leg straightens right up. He's healed. He's so happy. He goes dancing down the road, shouting praises to God. He turns to the redneck, and the redneck says, "Whoa, don't touch me. I'm drawing disability." So hopefully you guys like that. It's kind of hard to tell a joke when there's nobody laughing, but hopefully you're laughing on your end. Now you can start back up with the chats. All right, any tips on keeping rabbits cool in the summer? It's been 90 out there, and I have frozen water birds, but they melt. Yeah, same thing with me. The frozen water bottles don't seem to work very well for my rabbits. One thing you can do, ceramic tiles work pretty well, especially, keep them in the shade. Make sure they're in the shade, especially if you can give them not just the shade of the roof of their hutch, but shade over that, like a big shade tree, or they sit on the south side of my house, or the north side of my house, so they're never in full sun. The sun never hits the cage. And that helps quite a bit. If you live in a really dry climate, you can look at like swamp coolers or like a misting system. Don't mist the rabbits themselves. Mist the outside of the cage area, and that can drop the temperature a little bit. Fans, don't run them directly on the rabbits. Run them over the top just to get a little bit of air circulation. That'll help. The biggest thing though, really, especially if you got rabbits from somebody locally, they're probably well adapted to the heat. They've, for generations, they've had to deal with it. So they're probably pretty well adapted to it. Just leave them alone. Don't mess with them much during the day. Let them lay around on the cage all spread out like they do. And, ice bottles and tiles from Home Depot, somebody else suggested. But anyway, again, just don't mess with them too much during the day. Don't get them all wound up during the heat of the day. Deal with them like at night or early morning. That should help. All right, if I'm ever in South Carolina, visit Swifty's Seafood. I'll have to remember that. Uh-oh, out of soda. What do people say if they don't feed a rabbit for 5 hours, they will die? Why do people say if you don't feed a rabbit for 5 hours, they will die? Because I don't know what they're talking about, I'm guessing. I don't know. I've never heard that before. If you don't feed a rabbit for 5 hours, it will die. Now, I do know with quail, it's much more important. Oh, is that a joke? Okay, let's hear it then. I'm sorry. I'm a little dense tonight. Georgetown, South Carolina, the new location of the restaurant. I'll try to remember that. I don't make it to South. Well, I don't think I've ever been to South Carolina. Maybe I have. I don't know. All right, I'm waiting for the punchline to the joke about not feeding rabbits, and then I got something to tell you. To the guy. Oh, what was it that I was telling a joke? Or I'm lost. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. Oh, it wasn't a joke. Okay, you're being serious. People say that if you don't feed a rabbit for 5 hours, it will die. No, that's a bunch of crap. The rabbits can go. You only feed them as much as they'll clean up in about 24 hours. Don't overfeed your rabbits. That's a big problem. Oh, whoever told him. Okay, okay, I'm with you. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with this tonight. Yeah, okay, it was a joke that they told you that probably. Yeah, so somebody was pulling your leg or something maybe. I will tell you with quail though, it's important to keep their feeders full all the time because if you let them run out of food for even just overnight or something, they'll start almost resorting to cannibalism. They'll start picking on the other ones. The aggression will really pick up. It's much more important to keep food in there all the time. Hell, no problem, Doug. It's not your fault. It's probably mine trying to keep up with the chat. But no, your rabbits don't need to be fed. They can go without food overnight, for a day even. They're going to be fine. Yeah, they're wrong. Don't worry about it. If you need to go, if you run out of rabbit food and you have to go a whole day without feeding them, they're going to be okay. It's not that big of a deal. Don't go multiple days without feeding them. I mean, they need to be fed regularly. Don't let that happen on purpose. But if it happens and they have to go one day without food, it's okay. They're not going to die from that. Again, your quail, that's a little bit more, like I said, they go for just overnight without feed, and they seem to get real aggressive. No, I've never had French lops before. You said you're a good guy and also funny. I don't know. I think I'm funny sometimes, but what happened? Exactly what happened, huh? Oh, you ran out of food, had to go overnight? Yeah, it's no big deal. One other thing people need to know about quail is they poop a lot more than the chicken. Well, I think you're probably right about that. They do have a tremendous amount of waste. They never stop eating either, it doesn't seem like. I mean, they just eat all the time. They don't necessarily eat that much, but they're just constantly eating. Okay, when I've had to, I take a few babies to show someone them so they can decide which ones they wanted, and the one didn't pick 15. Oh, they went 15 hours without food? Yeah, again, it's no big deal. It's not going to be a problem. Good grief, we're at 52 minutes, 53 minutes, almost time to start getting this thing wrapped up for the night. Go spend some time with the family. What was your hatch rate from Kansas City Quail Farms? Mine was about 20%. I have silvers, golden whites, tuxedos, pharaohs, and something about aggression. And I had pretty good hatch rates. I think I had like an 85% hatch rate on the batch that I got from Kansas City Quail Farms. But I generally have about an 85 to a 90% hatch rate. Occasionally I have a bad hatch for whatever reason. But I wouldn't blame it on their eggs. I would think it's probably something else. Hey, Walt's in here tonight. Wasn't sure you were going to make it, Walt. Good to see you. When incubating quail, bob whites in this case, is there a timer or percentage of incubation when you stop turning? Yeah, I can't remember. Lockdown is the time that you stop turning the eggs. I don't remember what it is for bob whites. For Coturnix quail, it's 14 days. I want to say bob whites are pretty close to the same, but they may be like 16 days. I don't remember. Do a Google search, bob white quails lockdown, and it will tell you what day they go into lockdown. That's the day you stop turning your eggs. Hopefully that helps. 23 days. Okay, I was way off on that. But again, do a Google search just to check that and verify that. Not that I don't trust Anthony. He's probably right. It's always good. To see somebody else is saying, oh, that's Anthony again. Lockdown day 20. Okay, that makes more sense. Lockdown day 20, it takes them 23 days to hatch. How old are my kids? Let's see. My kids are... well, look, Armed American gave me a $5 super chat. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. My kids are, let's see, my daughter is 26. My son is 20. I have an 11-year-old stepson who lives with us and a 19-year-old stepson that lives with his dad. Yep, thanks, Anthony. Appreciate that. All right, this has got to be pretty boring for people not in the live chat to see me just sitting here saying nothing. So it comes in bursts. It's like all the chats come at once and then leave. Hidden Bunnies, you're only 11. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join the live broadcast with us. I appreciate it. And it sounds like you like my theme, huh? What's my theme? About raising your own food? Hopefully, I don't know if that's what you mean, something else. All right, we got another joke here. What do you call a pig in a pine tree? I don't know. And Doug says, I have about 8 does on 6 to 6, which is also my middle daughter's birthday. Oh, nice. Awesome shirts. Yeah, I like my shirt. This is one of my favorites. Well, thanks for watching the videos. I appreciate that, Hidden Bunnies. Good night to you, Tom. A porcupine. A porcupine. A porcupine is a pig in a pine tree. For you and your family, I would recommend Ark Encounter. What's that? What's Ark Encounter? Oh, I know what you're talking about. I've actually heard about that. Yeah, somebody else got it too. Porcupine. I've actually heard about that. I was wondering if that was worth it or not. The Noah's Ark Museum. You know, we have the Sight and Sound Theater here in Branson too. That's pretty good. If you're over down this way, they did. We went and saw Moses down there last year. I'm not a big show guy. I'm not really into going and watching shows. And this was kind of a musical and all, but this was pretty good. I was actually pretty impressed. And they bring the animals and stuff right down the aisles. I mean, right down beside you. It's crazy. So it was pretty good. They did a good job with that. Did I have a rabbit litter this May? I had one right before the start of May. So yeah, actually it was the very beginning of May. It was only 2 rabbits though. So not a big litter, but I had one. All right, guys, I got to start getting this wrapped up. I'm going to have to go spend some time with the family. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me during the technical problems and my jumping around from chat to chat. Thanks for interacting. I appreciate that. And you guys are distracting me with comments again. Thank you so much for the super chats. As always, you guys humble me with those. I appreciate that as well. And just thanks more than anything for watching my videos, coming back every week to the live broadcast, spending some time with me, interacting with me, and I appreciate every single one of you. Well, Brandon, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate that. So, all right, you guys take care as well. God bless every single one of you, and we will see you again next week. Good night.